There's a certain sound a Lamborghini makes when it tears across a freshly tilled pasture, like 1,000 blenders chewing gravel while a cow screams in protest. The first time it happened, I thought it was a dream. The second time I realized it was a nightmare. The third time, I knew it was war. I was standing in my barn doorway, a rusted shovel in my grip, when that gleaming white Lamborghini Urus came barreling across my field yet again. Dust rose in thick spirals. My cows scrambled, a hen flapped away in panic, and the fresh fence I'd repaired last week snapped in half as if it were a toothpick. Inside the car sat Susan and Carol. They weren't just tourists. They were a plague of entitlement, cackling, as they destroyed whatever they pleased. Susan, blonde hair flying, had her phone out the window, filming the chaos. Carol, behind the wheel, chewed gum with the expression of a smug teenager. Arrogance could be distilled into two women. It would look exactly like them. I'd first met them about a month earlier. A Sunday morning, I was tightening wire near the north pasture when the bass throbbed up through my boots before the car even appeared. Then it shot over the ridge like a meteor. They stopped when I flagged them down. Barely. You lost? I asked. Carol didn't look up from her phone. Just taking a shortcut. GPS says this connects to the highway. This is private land. I pointed at my hand-painted sign, nailed crook to the fence post. Trespassing. Susan took a picture of me, giggling. Oh my God, Carol, look at him. He's got a pitchfork and everything. Carol smirked. It's 2025. Who still has a farm here? They peeled off in a cloud of gravel. I figured they'd move along. But the next afternoon, they were back. Then again the following Friday. Soon, it was routine. Every week, usually Fridays and Sundays, they came roaring across my fields. Sometimes they brought friends, a whole caravan of convertibles blaring club music. Once, Susan threw a half-empty latte cup out the window that landed square in my horse trough. I tried everything. Notes on the gate, private property, no trespassing. Gone the next morning. A chain across the drive, snipped and tossed aside. I called the sheriff's department, left voicemails. Spoke to Deputy Marks in the diner while he dunked fries into a chocolate shake. He sighed. Hard to prove trespass unless you get footage. I'm telling you, it's every week, he shrugged. Those HOA folks, they think the whole county is their backyard. First new element, it wasn't just me they harassed. My neighbor, Mr. Jennings, caught them pulling donuts in his hayfield one night, headlights sweeping over his farmhouse while they screamed like it was a concert. He tried to block them in with his truck, but Carol drove right over his irrigation hose. I started taking notes, dates, times, witnesses, license plate photos. Still, the damage piled up. A rut through my soybeans, a smashed irrigation pipe. Once, they almost hit my border collie, Lucky, who was chasing rabbits near the road. Second new element. The final straw came when they brought a film crew. Some influencer group Susan was collaborating with. 4 SUVs, drones buzzing overhead. Women in platform heels stomping across my field like it was their personal stage. I stood at the fence, jaw clenched. They ignored me entirely. I heard Susan shriek, "Get this for the intro, us speeding over the hill." Carol revved the engine, launched the Lamborghini across my fence line again, and they filmed it in slow motion. That night, I watched their video online. My pasture turned into a backdrop for their brand. My animals nothing but props. The comments were full of laughing emojis and crown icons. Something in me snapped. I'd tried kindness, warnings, calls to the authorities, but there is a point where decency runs out. I started planning. Third new element. In the middle of the night, I drove my ATV along their usual track. The pass near the corral was always marshy after rain. Perfect. I hauled supplies, sprinklers, hoses, timer switches, bags of clay. and 2 barrels of leftover manure slurry from the cattle shed. Over several evenings, I built my trap. By the end, it looked like the rest of the pasture. You wouldn't suspect a thing until you were already sinking. I called it the welcome mat. 4th new element. On the 4th evening, I sat in the dark with a thermos of coffee and a pair of binoculars, watching the moonlight dance over my handiwork. Part of me wondered if I'd gone too far. But then I remembered the look on Susan's face when she threw that latte cup into my water trough, like I was nothing. No. This was justice. 4 days later, they came. I heard them before I saw them, thumping bass, laughter, the roar of the engine. Susan leaned out the window, filming. Carol punched the horn twice. They sped toward the trap. 30 yards. I slipped my hand into my pocket, thumb on the remote. 20 yards. I pressed the button. A hiss. Water flooded the clay. They crossed the straw, unaware. Then the car dipped. Just an inch. But enough. The Lamborghini stopped moving forward. The tires spun, spraying brown arcs. Carol's hands flew to the wheel. Susan shrieked. Then it sank. Slowly, humiliatingly. Susan threw her door open and stepped straight into knee-deep muck. She tried to turn but lost a sandal and fell face first. Carol climbed onto the hood. Her leopard scarf flapped in the breeze. She slipped, landing with a splat. 5th new element. I wasn't the only witness. My neighbor Mr. Jennings arrived with his teenage grandson, who filmed the whole scene. Later, he sent me the footage with a note. Thought you'd want a copy for court. Carol scrambled to her feet, covered in sludge. Susan floundered, screaming at her friend to stop filming. You did this. Carol shrieked at me. I built a field, I said. Susan flung mud from her hands. You'll pay for this. I lifted my phone. Deputy Marks, here's your proof. They froze. Then came the tow truck. The driver leaned out the window, grinning. Need a lift? Get it out, Susan demanded. He eyed the bog. Not without a waiver. This is a liability nightmare. It's not off-road. Carol shouted. Sure ain't a road. They stood there, caked in humiliation. 6th new element. Their influencer friends finally arrived, more cameras rolling. Instead of helping, they laughed and live-streamed the meltdown. I walked back to my porch, poured sweet tea, and watched them flounder. By morning, the video was viral. Millions of views. Local news ran it. A late-night host joked about the Lamborghini. That met karma. I didn't make a dime, but strangers started dropping by to shake my hand. My farm page exploded with followers. Susan and Carol sent a lawsuit. Intentional damage, defamation, emotional distress. My lawyer Vic laughed so hard he wheezed. We countersued. Trespass, property damage, endangerment of livestock. A week later, their lawyer dropped the case. The video kept spreading. A boot company sent free gear. A podcast asked for an interview. I declined. TV. I'm no celebrity. Just a man with a fence and a grudge. Months later, I saw them at the grocery store. No makeup, no designer bags. Just 2 women pushing a cart. They didn't look at me. I nodded once. That was enough. Some stories don't need sequels. Still, I keep the sprinklers buried in that patch of field. And every few weeks, I refresh the sign. Private property. Trespassers will be embarrassed. My farm is quiet. My animals are safe. My fences are whole. They say karma takes time. But sometimes all it takes is a little water, a little clay, and the right amount of resolve. If you like this story, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. With a friend. Ever dealt with your own trespassers? Tell me in the comments, and remember, never underestimate a farmer with patience.